Hey everybody, I'm Chris Carlson. I'm from syracuse.com. I'm fortunate enough to have James Bates with me today. James is a former linebacker at Florida and was the color man on the Syracuse Georgia Tech game over the weekend. So got to look at the Syracuse football team up close. James, given you're a defensive guy, what did you think of the 3-3-5 that Syracuse showed? That's a new defense for us around here.
Yeah, it starts with, no matter what the defense is that you're running, it starts with the head of it all. And in this situation, it's Tony White. And I've been around him a little bit when he was out at New Mexico. I was with the Mountain West Conference, and I know a lot about his mentor, Rocky Long. Rocky Long is as tough as can be. Great defensive coach, great defensive mind, and he puts the players in the right places, teaches fundamentals, and he's a great chess player, and that's what showed to me. It stood out to me in that game. There were a few calls in big moments of the game that Tony White called a great game. He hit it right on, and he's got a defense, as you know, and as you asked, with that 3-3-5. Where you can disrupt and you can give some headaches, especially a younger quarterback like we saw with Jeff Sims, the freshman, the true freshman, who's a phenomenal athlete, who's going to have a great career. But he had a tough time with it because you're not really sure where everybody's coming from, and you have so many different weapons, smaller bodied weapons than a big, say, an Alabama or a Florida, where you've got plenty of the big, nasty defensive linemen that can run. And so you're limited a little bit at times in certain places with maybe some of those big 300-pounders that can kind of fill gaps and move around. But at the same time, the plus side of it, when you've got all those athletes, those young linebackers that are so active and can make so many plays, not to mention the secondary, it fits nicely into this scheme, and it sure showed on Saturday.
The one thing I've read about a little bit, and I haven't broken down the film to see how much they did it, but a lot of times I guess the linebackers line up right behind the defensive linemen, so it's a stack type of formation. What does that do? Because the alignment's a little different than I guess what I'm used to seeing.
Well, and that's the beauty of it too, is they don't have to always line up in a gap. They don't always have to line up stacked, and you can really keep the offenses guessing. And what really gives them headaches is it's bad enough to know, okay, try to figure out who I'm going to block on this play if we're running the football. But if it's time to pass protect, if it's a 3rd down and 7, and you got guys kind of lining up all over and stacking all over, it's a little bit easier to get back into position and to recover when you've got some big 300-pound guys running stunts and running games. But when you've got a little guy like Michael Jones or any of those guys, really, it's Wax or Richards. I mean, those guys can get there quick, and they're coming from all over, and it can really give you headaches, especially when he's covered by being stacked, and you're not sure, he's not really declaring a kind of an area or a hole.
You don't know which, he could go to either side of that lineman, so it's a little bit more thinking.
Right, or he could be dropping out of there and going into pass coverage, which the interception at the end that hey Hank, you got to stop, man. My dog's over here chewing on boxes. I'm sorry, Chris.
You're fine.
And come here. And so I'm sorry. And
we love dogs here. You're good.
Okay, all right. And, but the late in the game, the interception late in the game was a good example of Jeff Sims just throwing it into an area and threw it right into I forget the guy's name.
Jahad Carter.
Carter, and then he lateraled it to Trill Williams. that was a situation where, just a confused young quarterback. He thought he knew where he wanted to go with the ball and didn't expect him to be there. And that's the kind of stuff that can happen. And like I said, Coach White and the assistants over there on the defensive side of the ball, you can tell that they're well coached. And they also, it's one thing to be a good skill, technique coach, but you also, when it's all buckled up and you're playing ball and it's going fast and furious, to make the right calls. There were a lot of times where he definitely Syracuse fans should be very excited about having him there.
James, you obviously see a lot of football facilities in your travels. The Carrier Dome, they spent $118 million kind of renovating the thing. What were your impressions of it? I've followed it so closely that I have a hard time removing myself. As an outsider, what did you think?
It is, and I'm not blowing smoke here. It is my favorite place to call a game. I love being right there in the thick of it. It's, usually you're in a press box, you're so far removed from the field. It was a bummer not to be right in the thick of the crowd. You're still in the same spot, but there was no crowd. It's fun to people watch. It's a lot easier to call because you're hanging out almost over the field. You don't have to kill yourself with looking down at your chart and trying to figure out who's who. A lot of times you can even read the names on the back of their jerseys on the nameplate. I love it. I love going up there, and it was even prettier. Love the Jumbotron, the scoreboard, and a little bit of natural light coming in there. It's cool. It was so for me, I actually just found out I've got you guys up there. I've got Duke at Syracuse 2 weekends from now. So I'm looking forward to getting back up there. And it's not the easiest. I live in Gainesville, Florida. So coming home on Sunday morning, I had to wake up at 4 something, fly from Syracuse to Detroit to Atlanta to Gainesville. But still, I wouldn't trade it. If they told me I had to call all my games up at Syracuse, I'd be a happy Gator.
James, I know we were talking before, and you were mentioning that your dad coached Rob Burnett. I don't know how well you got to know Rob or how much you talked about Rob, but any fun Rob Burnett stories that he mentioned over the years?
Well, I knew him when he was there with the Cleveland Browns. My dad was on Belichick's staff there in Cleveland and coached him. And one thing that I remember about Rob is my dad would always use him as an example. When I was a player at Florida, and he was always talking about using your hands and technique. Rob was a big kung fu guy. They had a great teacher named Joe Kim, who still works with a lot of teams in the NFL. And it was all about hands. And I just, and Rob Burnett was as good as anybody of just using those hands and keeping those big offensive linemen off of them and just being powerful. But at the same time, knowing where the weak points are in the arms of these big, strong offensive linemen and how to break down their wrist and their elbow and to really kind of like cave them. And he was always so good to me when I was in high school and younger in college. I used to go up there and I would take care of a few of the big money guys at training camp and go wash their cars for them and stuff like that. And just good people, good guy.
That's so much more. We probably don't give those guys as much credit as we should for their technique. The way you're describing how the hand fighting and the hand play. It sounds. The position is much more intricate probably than the casual fan gives credit to.
100%. And I that's kind of where I appreciate like I don't know how it fits in, but somewhere in here, the old, I guess, idiom you call it, can't see the forest for the trees. Like I like to dissect little pieces of the game when I'm calling a game, and that's what gets me excited. A linebacker maybe just getting off the spot or taking a good angle, or a receiver that's blocking. My brother and my dad, my brother was a coach for a long time as well in the NFL. It's they're the big picture and coverage and schemes, but I like the little battles, and I like when a guy will go in there and really, really good with his technique, and especially along that defensive line to watch him just separate, because those big guys, and that's, a linebackers too, like especially these younger, a little bit smaller linebackers. You've got to learn to use your hands, because if I'm 220 pounds and I've got this 315-pound, 320-pound offensive lineman barreling down on me, I don't know if they still teach them, but you got to, I had a hard head. So you hit them right in the face. And while they're shocked, then you use your hands to separate them, because that's the only chance you have. Because if you go chest to chest, titty bumping with those big offensive linemen, they're going to win that battle every time. And so I really appreciate when you see a guy playing with really good technique. And that's something too that I see in the defensive secondary. There was Syracuse. It was guys in position, guys. Georgia Tech had a good game in their secondary as well. Just some good defensive play, and it's always fun to watch.
When you're calling a game, I've always wondered this. You have to know so much, right? You have to get your facts right. You have to know the players' names. You have to know the backstories, and then you have to dissect the football. Do you watch a lot of film before a game? Do you just try to pick the brain of the coaching staff and get a sense of what you're looking for? How does your week kind of go heading into a game?
Yeah, kind of all the above. You got to watch. You got to watch all you can, and it's it's easier now this day and age. We used to have to figure out a way through the coaches' tapes sharing, which is always nice when you can somehow get an end zone copy rather than just a TV copy. And so you can see it tackle to tackle in that box and really see things develop. But you watch a lot of game film and talking to whoever you can in town, people like yourself even. It's, I read everything I can locally. And you've got your notes from the SIDs, building my charts. And I get carried away. For about 8 years, I did play-by-play work I was out in the Mountain West Conference. I did play-by-play for football, basketball, and baseball, and sometime after that as well. But what kind of drove me to that seat was I like the human interest stories, and I like to kind of tell the tales. And sometimes I'll get sidetracked. I'll I've never heard of this high school before. And, I go down this rabbit hole of researching some random high school, and you find out things like, there's one story that stands out is there's a kid at San Diego State, I believe, and he went to Beverly Hills High School. And I'm like, well, obviously sounds kind of interesting. And I went and I was reading about it. So that high school, their high school gym, the gym floor opens up, and underneath is a swimming pool. And that was the swimming pool that they shot It's a Wonderful Life, where they're the dance scene where it opens up and they're all falling into the pool. It's just like stuff like that I just get so excited about. And so, like this weekend, I've got Florida State and Jacksonville State, and there's a guy from Georgiana, Alabama, and that's where Hank Williams was born. And so I'm like, all right, well, I hope he makes a play, and just so I can kind of drop some fun knowledge on everybody. But so sometimes I get a little distracted, and I go and I take those notes down. But we meet with the coaches on Zoom calls now. It used to be before COVID, and hopefully it'll go back to it, because one of my favorite things is being able to just sit down in the room with the coaches and a couple players and just talk with them. And we always have such a good time with Dino Babers, and so I hope we get back to that, but at least we still have Zoom and we can do this, and at least we're playing ball. I mean, it was so cool to get up there. Last weekend was my first game that I've called this season. And, and maybe it didn't show so much on the TV copy week 1 against North Carolina and week 2 against Pitt, but I was a little bit nervous. I was like, gosh, are these Syracuse guys, are they enjoying ball? Are they able to enjoy this? Because you'd see someone make a play and his buddy would run up and slap him on the butt, hey, good job. But I didn't see him like celebrating as a team and that energy that I'm like, so I was hurting for, not only for them, but if that is the case, if guys aren't having as much fun playing ball, that's what I miss, is just rallying with your boys and just celebrating and having a great time. But I did see that. I saw nothing but that. in the Carrier Dome on Saturday. So it made me feel good. It made me feel like there's still hope. And they played like it. They played with fire, and it was fun to see them celebrate together and enjoy one another, because that's what you're doing it for.
Is that something you've noticed watching other games? I don't know how much you have, but has there been less joy in a lot of the games that you've seen on TV, or was that kind of a Syracuse centric thing?
It's no, you see it here and there, and it's I mean, it's different. It's like a scrimmage type atmosphere. Now it'll be a little bit different. I'm anxious to get to Tallahassee this weekend and see how that is, because they're letting in, I believe, 17, 18,000. And so they've got a little bit of a crowd. And, in Gainesville in the Swamp this weekend, it'll be the same. So I'm anxious to see how that is, to just with some, real crowd interaction and some noise, how they react. But, it's definitely different. And you hear these coaches talking about bringing your own energy, and you find out, I think too, who really loves playing football. And, believe it or not everybody that plays college football is doing it because it's just their dream and they just love it. They like it. But, there's a difference between liking it and really loving it. And it sure is fun to see guys passionate and out there playing the sport that they love.
James, I have one more football question, then I want to get to the guys behind you, which is the art stuff. We've been really impressed with the 3-3-5 defense. It's played well all three games. The defense was good against North Carolina, Pitt, and obviously Georgia Tech. If it's going to have issues this year, where are the issues? Is it like a power run game just because you've got smaller guys on the field and holding up against something like that?
Yeah, it could become an issue. It's but then again, like I said, if you got some guys that are solid with their technique, if you got some guys that really understand where they have to fit, and they don't mind sacrificing their body, and they don't mind playing within the scheme and not freelancing, and hey, I may not make a tackle all day long, but my buddy's going to. I'm doing this for the team. So you got, if it seems to me like, the kind of coaching that went on Saturday and the kind of excitement that they played with, it doesn't seem to me like there are a lot of guys out there that are me guys. It seems like they're all kind of bought in, and winning certainly helps that. But like you said, if somebody wants to get up there and just, hey, we're going to run the ball down your throat and just dare you to stop it. Like try and stop this. We're just going to overpower you. It can make for some headaches when you've got those smaller guys on the field, and it's maybe not always something that you've worked throughout the week with bigger bodies out there, or if a team starts having success running the football, it's really tough to stop. And as you found out with Syracuse's offense, they finally got that running game going, and look what happens. Everything else opens up, and hey, we're running the football. All right, now we're going to play action pass you and have some fun with that. So yeah, so that's what it is, plain and simple, is not as many big bodies out there as they have over on the offensive ball side of the ball when they're really trying to power it at you, and it puts you on your heels.
And Jim, one of the coolest things I found when I looked you up was you're not only a broadcaster, you're an artist. The guys behind you, I imagine you made those?
Yeah, I did. And this is actually a Zoom background, and I had to switch over from my computer to my phone, and so I got lucky that I have a good, cool background here for you. And you see, so those guys, those are the three Heisman Trophy winners at the University of Florida: Coach Spurrier, Tim Tebow, and Danny Warfel, who I played with Danny. We came in the same year in '92, and that is actually at a local Chick-fil-A in Gainesville. And they commissioned me. They wanted something Gator for their entryway there, and I figured it'd be kind of cool. Like Notre Dame had the 4 horsemen, to do the 3 Heisman, but they're sitting on the Chick-fil-A cows instead of sitting on the horses. So yeah, so I'm proud of that, and I'm really proud of my art. Thanks for bringing it up. I teach a class at the University of Florida, a broadcasting class, a play-by-play on-air talent class, And I tell my students, I really have 3 dream jobs. I get to go and call these football games, work as a broadcaster. I get to hang out with my students, and sometimes we have a little too much fun. We get in trouble by the neighboring teacher. Hey, can you guys keep it down over here? But I can't help it. I just love being around them, and they're all at that point. And if they're taking my class, they're really they're in. They're in there for a reason. It's not like it's a college algebra class. So I'm lucky there. But then as far as the art goes, I used to do the broadcasting and play-by-play and hosting all year long, and always traveling everywhere. And I started painting, gosh, probably now about 15 years ago or so. And people just really started liking it, and commissions and whatever else. I do art shows. And so it got to a point where when football's over in December, I can just slam on the brakes and just paint until it's time to go back to football. And I just, I started with abstract landscapes, and I collected, though, folk art. I collected art with a lot of text in it, and of people and stories. And I enjoy telling stories so much. That I was like, well, I should maybe paint more of that. Like I played for Coach Spurrier, and the head ball coach is, there are a million head ball coach stories, and they're all so funny. And so I started painting like head ball coach pieces with some of his quotes or whatever else. And I just I love it, and I'm so lucky that I can just get paid to create, and it just will never ever stop blowing me away that people will contact me because they feel like my art could make their house better or make their spouse happy on Christmas or for a birthday. And it's the coolest thing in the world. And to be honest, if I had to choose between the 3, I probably would. I'd pick the art, because I can't stop, and like, even when I'm on the road, or even when I'm doing my charts, they've got to look really pretty, and I got to they've got to be pleasing on the eye, or it just, I can't relax. So yeah, thanks for asking about that, though.
So I love the ones that have a little bit of petty in them. So I like Nick Saban with the middle finger. I like Jim Harbaugh in the pajamas. Did you have a favorite one that you've done? And are those were those commissioned by opposing fans or fans of those guys?
Well, some of them I just do. Let me see if I can pull this off here. I'm gonna try to. There we go. More. Boom. And get rid of that background. How do I do it? Where are you at? Maybe I can't. Dang it. Oh well. I was gonna try to get rid of that and show you a couple of things here in my studio. But let's see. Let me see. So I got here's the. These are just greeting cards here, but there's the Jim Harbaugh and his footy pajamas you were talking about, and some of them are just like, I'll read a story and I got to paint that, and a lot of them I'll have Coach Orgeron, LSU fan will want something, and it's nice when somebody says, hey, I want something. You do you, and go do it, and it's kind of tough sometimes when you feel like you got someone hovering over you, like, yeah, but I want this, and the room is this color, and it's like, it's kind of nice when they just trust you. And I wish I could show you, and I would show you my favorite. Let me see. Oh, there we go. Virtual background. Okay. Remove. No, I want to none. There we go. None. All right. So there's.
Oh wow.
That's one of my favorites. That's my big Brian Bosworth piece that I actually finished a couple years ago when I turned 44 on my birthday. I finished it for myself. That was my birthday present to myself. And Tony White and I were talking. We were about the same age, and we were talking about number 44. And he was talking about when he was in high school, he used to watch me play for the Gators, and it was kind of cool. But yeah, so I got him, and I got Lily King, the swimmer over there. I got a lot of swimmers in my family, so I like painting swimmers, and that just says Lily King does not collude with the Russians. She's got the finger wag with that Russian girl that was doping a couple years ago. But yeah, just stuff like that. Whatever I feel like painting. If I don't have, sometimes I get kind of commissioned out. If I've done too many commissions in a row, it's kind of like, now I'm going to do something that I want to do, like 2 for you, 1 for me. And a lot of it, and that's really where it started, is if nobody buys it, then it looks good in my house,
Mhm. Awesome. James, thank you for being so generous with your time today. Thank you for sharing your insight with me and Syracuse fans. And we'll hope you get a warm welcome back here when Syracuse plays Duke in about a week and a half.
All right. Well, I'm sure of it. And I know I'll get a warm plate at Dinosaur Barbecue. And I used to live in Rochester, and I thought I was going to have to come in a couple of days early because of COVID for a quarantine or a test, but they said I could take it from here. And I was just going to drive over to Rochester and get that the garbage plate, the Nick Tahoe garbage plate, but I didn't make it over there. So maybe one day I'll get to go over there too. But yeah, it's just seriously, thanks to all the Orange fans for always showing us love when we come in. It's really nice to it's a fun fan base, and they enjoy their ball, and they're always so good to us, and that's really cool.
Thanks, James. We'll talk to you soon. All right.
You got it. Thanks for having me on, Chris.